William Shakespeare, 1564 AD to whenever he died, was well known for borrowing from existing literature when writing his plays. Romeo and Juliet is pretty much lifted entirely from Arthur Brooks' poem The Tragical History of Romulus and Juliet. Dude didn't even change the names. And as recent Shakespeare scholarship has established, the famed play William Shakespeare Presents Hamlet was lifted wholesale from the volume you are about to enjoy. To Be or Not to Be. To Be or Not to Be is both the earliest recorded example of the books as game genre, as well as the first instance ever in the then newish English language that was kicking around of an adventure being chosen by you, the reader. We've gone ahead and added illustrations, plus we've taken the liberty of marking with tiny York skulls the choices Shakespeare himself made when he plagiarized his book back in olden times. They're there in case you wish to put yourself in Shakespeare's shoes, reading this book as he did, stealing plot elements wholesale, and classing up the language as he/you went/go. However, that is not the only way to read this book. Feel free to explore your other options, as each time you read this book, you can go on a different adventure, assuming you don't read the book like 3 quadrillion times, at which point the adventures will start to repeat, and they'll probably seem pretty familiar long before then anyway. Now, take yourself back to history, when ghosts walked the earth and nobody knew velociraptors were even a thing. Steel yourself to experience the magic of Shakespeare as it was meant to be experienced, in a non-deterministic narrative structure where you end up thinking maybe you made a wrong decision, so you mark the pages you were just on, so you can always go back and make a different choice if you die for some dumb reason. To be or not to be, that is the adventure. Choose your character. Man, what if I just read the acknowledgements instead? You have just been born. Congratulations, good work on that thing. Now, surprise! Babies are boring, so we're going to jump ahead in time to a point where you're an adult, and you've already lived a bunch of your life. But I promise most of what we're skipping over was really dull. You ate a lot and slept a lot and made some friends, tears were shed, makeouts were totally had, etc. It was a bunch of high school stuff. The awesome stuff starts now. So, let's begin, my friend. Remind me again who you are. Are you Ophelia? She's an awesome lady in her late 20s with a calm, competent, and resourceful demeanor. She's got a +1 bonus to science, but she's also got a -1 weakness against water, so heads up. Hamlet? He's an emo teen in his early 30s. Also, he's a prince of Denmark. Hamlet has a +1 resistance to magic, but there's no magic in this adventure, so this never gets mentioned again as of right now. Hamlet Sr.? He's the king of Denmark, 50 years old. He's super good at fighting and leading men into battle in naps. Let's say +1 to each? Look, bottom line, he's an unstoppable machine of death, and should you choose to be him, you may experience kingly glory. Play as Ophelia. Play as Hamlet. Play as Hamlet Sr. You are Hamlet. You're 30 years old and you're back living at home, but it's okay, because your home is a castle. That's right, ladies. You're a prince. Things have been rough lately. You had been trying to focus on your studies at Wittenberg University, where you and your bros, Horatio Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, all hang out. But you were called home because your father died. Then, your dead dad's brother, Claudius, married your mom, Gertrude, 2 weeks later. Yep, it's made you kind of upset. You raced home to comfort her, but she's married your uncle, and that is weird. You feel weird. Right now, you're in the audience chamber of your father's castle, here in sunny Denmark. King Claudius is here addressing his court. Laertes and Polonius are here too. Laertes is kind of a jerk, and Polonius is his father. Polonius is also the father of Ophelia, whom you're totally sweet on. She's not here, though. Who knows what adventure she's having as we speak, while you're stuck in this drafty castle room listening to other people talk about their feelings. Speaking of speaking, just now Laertes says something about how now that Claudius is king, and he's attended the coronation, is it okay for him to go back to France? Claudius says, sure. Wait a minute. You'd love to leave too and go back to school, away from this weird incesty thing your mother's gotten herself into. It's so gross and weird. Ask Claudius for permission to go back to school. Hold your tongue and just wait around. You hold up your hand and open your mouth, but before you can say anything, Claudius addresses you directly, calling you his son. On the one hand, that's entirely appropriate, especially since he just married your mom like 2 weeks ago. But on the other hand, he has brought creepy uncle to new heights. Points for that, maybe? Insult him under your breath by saying you're more than kin, i.e., you're related more than once now as both father/son and uncle/nephew, but less than kind, i.e., this relationship you're in is unnatural. In real life, people think up zingers like this on the spot all the time, so this totally makes sense. Say, "You're not my real dad," and storm out of the room. He straight up ignores your zinger. Well, shoot. King Claudius goes on to tell you, in so many words, to buck up, stop dressing in black, stick around for a while, and have a little fun. He says all the feelings you're having are boring and wimpy. Your mom echoes his sentiments. Dude, your own mom just called you a wimp. You agree to stick around in Denmark for a while. They leave, and you're suddenly alone. Woohoo! You're finally alone, Hamlet. What are you going to do? Talk to yourself about how your life is in ruins and how everything just sucks. Stand around quietly until something happens. Okay, you talk out loud to the empty room, and what do you say? I'll tell you what you say. You say you wish your skin could literally melt off your body, revealing a skeleton that gives a double thumbs down before crumbling into dust. You say that you thought your mom really loved your dad, but now that she's married Claudius less than a month after dad's death, either love itself is fake, or she was faking love, and either way it doesn't matter because you've lost faith in your own mother. You say to the empty room, in all seriousness, that you want to kill yourself. Whoa, bro, this book just got real. Kill yourself. Don't kill yourself. While you're busy doing that, your friend Horatio bumps into you and tells you, A, he's in town for your dad's funeral/mom's wedding, and they serve leftover appetizers from one at the other. B, ghosts are real. C, he's seen one and so have a bunch of other guys. D, it keeps showing up at the same time. E, he's pretty sure it's the ghost of your dad. And F, what the heck, are you killing yourself right now as I'm speaking? You are, aren't you? What the heck, bro? You are now a ghost. Haunt Horatio. It seems some time has passed since you killed yourself and became a ghost. When you finally catch up with your dad, he's appalled to see you.
Why didn't you come see me when I tried to contact you months ago?
He demands of you. And all you can say is that you were really depressed back when you were alive.
You know what would have cured that depression?
Says your dad. Nope, you say.
Avenging my death because Claudius murdered me.
Your father throws his hands up in the air and leaves you alone. But at least you've got all of eternity to work it out between you, because you're both already ghosts. Eventually, a few hundred years pass and you do patch things up. And just in time, too. It's now the year 2100, and an alien probe has landed on Earth. While it looked empty to the living people who opened it, it actually contained thousands of ghosts from another world, an invasion force escaping from their dying planet, and they're attacking every ghost on the planet. And the living people of Earth have no idea this is even happening. You're right in the middle of a ghost-on-ghost war for the survival of the afterlife, and the two of you, Hamlet's Jr. and Sr., are leading the armies of humanity's greatest ghosts into battle. You've just finished a super dramatic pre-battle speech, whipping the troops into a frenzy. It is the morning of your biggest strike yet. You look to your right, and your father is grinning in grim determination. You look to your left, and the ghost of Franklin D. Roosevelt cocks his shotgun and says, "Let's do this, Hamlet!" It's so awesome. This is an awesome ending. Your horse rears, you raise your sword, and you charge. The end. Denmark. Okay, you sit on the throne, and since I like you, I'm going to describe your situation in rhyming verse. Now this was going to be a story all about how your life got flipped, turned upside down, but instead you're going to sit your butt down in this chair and ignore how you're really Denmark's rightful heir. Whoa! My flow is so awesome that it infects even you. You begin rapping to yourself about yourself. Here's the lyrical truth you lay down. In West Denmark, I was born and raised. On a battlefield is where I spent most of my days. Chilling out with dad, time stamping all the fools and all sword fighting Norwegians outside of my school when a couple of armies, they were up to no good, started repulsing our invasion of their neighborhood. Dad died one little time and my mom got scared and said, I'm marrying your dad's brother, but we weren't having an affair. You feel like you could keep spitting some extremely tight rhymes, but you also feel like you've brought yourself pretty much up to speed on your own life. Well done, Prince Hamlet. You certainly are fresh. Continue sitting on the throne. While you're busy doing that, your friend Horatio bumps into you and tells you, A, he's in town for your dad's funeral / mom's wedding, and that they serve leftover appetizers from one at the other. B, ghosts are real. C, he's seen one and so have a bunch of other guys. D, it keeps showing up at the same time, and E, he's pretty sure it's the ghost of your dad. Finally, some adventure, some closure. You agree that you'll come with him tonight to see the ghost when it shows up again. It's such an obvious decision that it kind of feels like you don't even have a choice in the matter. Agree to go with Horatio tonight to see the ghost when it shows up again. I'll be there, 11:30 sharp, you say, and Horatio leaves, satisfied. Well, now you have 8 hours to blow before it's time to meet ghosts. What do you want to do, Hamlet? Be Ophelia for a while. Play solitaire. Right, you're Ophelia. You are a beautiful and independent young woman, and although it makes you roll your eyes when you think about it, you've fallen in love with a prince. Prince Hamlet is funny and charming, and he seems to like you a lot. You try not to get too excited about it, because you're worried you might jinx it. But things really are going great. Only it's been hard doing the long-distance thing while you've both been off at university. And while you've loved studying capital S science, and you're sure Hamlet's loved studying capital U undeclared, it hasn't been easy. Now that you're both back together in Denmark for his father's funeral and his mother's second wedding, it's been harder still. Hamlet's really sad, and you can't blame him for that since, his dad died. But you wish there was something you could do to help him. When you last saw him, Hamlet mentioned how the castle seemed cold and drafty, and for some reason it stuck with you. You've been sitting at your desk, trying to think of something you could give him that would help with that, a way of cheering him up a little, remind him he's still got people who care about him. He wears these cloaks all the time, but then he's taking them off in warm rooms and putting them back on in cold ones. If only there was some way you could keep the rooms at a uniform temperature, he wouldn't need to be constantly adjusting his clothes throughout the day. But to do that, you'd need some way of measuring heat, and a way of transporting it through the castle, perhaps through a series of pipes. Your thoughts are interrupted by a knock at your door. Who is it? You call. It's me, says your brother. Come on, let me in. Let him in. Tell him you're busy. You open the door for your brother. You can come in, you say, but I don't want to hear any opinions about my personal life. If you sleep with Hamlet, you're a slut, he says. Slam the door in his face. Invite him to enter your room. Bam! That felt good. Larity shouts through the door that he's sorry and just wanted to say goodbye before he left for France. But when you open the door a crack, he sticks his head in and says, I'm just saying, have sex with him and you're damaged goods. You slam the door in his face again, barely missing his nose. You shout through the door that if you're damaged goods, he's an entire shelf of unsellable eggs that went off weeks ago. And also, as your brother, he's got an entirely unhealthy interest in your sex life. Nuh-uh, you're unhealthy, Larity shouts in return, and then you hear him stomp away down the hall. What a jerk, and his retorts don't even make sense. Return to desk. At your desk, you continue your work on the problem of automatically heating the castle. Hours turn into days and you're generally left alone by both your family and your boyfriend. Your father ignoring you is no big deal, and while you're a little worried about Hamlet not stopping by more often, he has asked you to leave him alone for a while he mourns, and you're respecting his wishes. But if you're going to be honest with yourself, You've also just gotten really absorbed in this problem. You decide to split the problem into sections, delivering heat and knowing when to deliver heat. It would be possible to put servants in every room and have them report when it's too cold, but that's both expensive and unreliable. It depends on the servant, the warmth of their clothes, how much they love to lie to people about what temperature their skin is sensing, and so on. You're wandering the castle grounds when it hits you. You've been thinking about how water expands when it freezes, and how that could be used to tell you when it's cold, but it's not much use for measuring temperatures outside the freezing point. Your father, Polonius, happens to wander by, talking to himself about the evils of drink, and you realize, alcohol! The right alcohol would expand linearly with heat, and by putting it in a slender glass vial, you could measure the size of that liquid, which would correspond 1-to-1 with temperature. Put the same markings on each of these glass vials at the same temperatures, and you've got a universal, comparable, and consistent way of measuring heat. You wouldn't have to rely on a servant's impression. They could just tell you what line the alcohol has reached. You run back to your room to start working on the prototype. Just as you complete it, you hear a knock at your door.
Who is it?
You call, and oh my, who should answer from the other side of the door? Seriously, who should answer from the other side of the door? Your boyfriend Hamlet. Your father Polonius. Your best friend Dramysio Mimus. Hamlet is at the door. That's right. Turns out that simply wishing for someone to be at your door doesn't change who's actually there. You don't control reality with your thoughts, Ophelia. Sheesh. Anyway, Hamlet opens the door and steps into your room. It's me, he says. You haven't seen each other for a while. It's so great to see him. You run up and throw your arms around him and you smooch. It's just like old times. But the moment passes, and when you look at his face, you can see concern written all over it. He's troubled by something. You ask him what's wrong, and, well, there's no other way to put this, so I'll give it to you straight. Hamlet tells you about a spooky ghost and a plan for murdering his stepfather Claudius, pretender to the throne. I'll be frank, it sounds crazy. A ghost? Murder? But he is your friend and lover, and you're not going to leave him hanging out to dry. As gently as you can, you tell him you're pretty sure ghosts don't exist. But even if they do, he needs to be certain that the ghost he saw was actually the ghost of his father. What if it was some other ghost trying to mess things up? That seems to give him pause. Hamlet admits he never actually asked the ghost for information only his dad would know. It's possible the ghost could be an imposter.
I'll come with you tonight, sweetie.
You say.
We'll go together, and if a ghost shows up, we'll figure out what to do.
You're confident no ghost will appear, and this will all just go away. You take his hand and squeeze. Hamlet looks up at you, and you can see his relief. Okay. Evening comes, and Hamlet leads you to the spot outside where he first saw the ghost. We have to wait till around midnight, he says. I think that's when he normally shows up. To pass the time, you play a storytelling game you enjoy, where you say one word of a story, and he says the next word, and neither of you knows where the story will go.
Once,
you begin. Upon, he says.
A,
you say. Time, he says.
there,
you say. Was, he says.
A,
you say. Beautiful, he says, looking at you. You smile.
Prince,
you reply, and he smiles back. Who, he says.
wanted,
You say. Two, he says.
kiss.
You say. His girlfriend, he says.
That's cheating.
You say. And then you're kissing. Make out for a while. Don't make out, because, and you can't believe you're thinking this, but what if a ghost catches you making out? You make out for what turns out to be quite a while, as the night is warm and the stars are stunning and there are no bugs here to bite any exposed flesh, and before you know it, you've totally made out as much as it's possible to totally make out. Nice. And you fall asleep in each other's arms. If ghosts exist, and if one really did show up, he certainly had the good grace to leave you alone for your makeouts. Also, he was probably embarrassed. You were both way naked. The two of you return to the same spot the next evening, and the evenings after that. But it becomes more and more a date night, and less a a specter from beyond the grave wants to get some murders done thing. King Claudius and Polonius are not exactly thrilled with the two of you being together, but on the flip side, any urges to commit regicide that were floating around have begun to fade too. Though you talk about it often, the whole encounter with the ghost, if it really did happen, takes on the quality of a dream. Rather than do the long-distance thing again, you decide to move in together and get your own place here in Denmark. Together, the two of you work on finalizing the invention of the alcohol thermometer. It works, and even figure out the other half of it, a way to move heated air throughout a building. Congratulations, you invented central heating. It's an invention that all of Denmark wants, and most are willing to pay for. While it's not the largest, you do live in the most comfortable estate in the entire country, thanks to the heating money. One bright summer day, as the two of you walk through the castle garden, you get down on one knee and say words to the effect of, "Sweetie, you're the most important person in my life, and I can't imagine ever living without you. I want to make you as happy as you make me every single day. Let's get married." You mean every word. It's not the most traditional proposal in the world, nor is it the most traditional wedding, but it's wonderful and beautiful and perfect. You're very happy. You don't invite Claudius to the wedding. A few years later, Claudius falls ill with some sort of lung disease, and his doctors are unable to treat it effectively. He passes away only a few months later, having never produced an heir. Shortly after, the two of you become the new king and queen of all of Denmark. Your first child, Alex, is born 5 months later, and you all live very happily ever after. The end. You have just been born. Congratulations. You are King Hamlet. All of Denmark is under your command. Everything's going so great for you. At present, you are in Norway, where just this afternoon, you led Denmark's forces to an astounding victory during which you personally killed the Norwegian king. Stabbed him right through the head, you did. His eye popped out and rolled on the ground, and then you stepped on it. Whoa, your ass is bad. You are a badass. You decide after a day of being good at fighting, you should have a nap. You've earned it. You settle down in an orchard for some nappy times. During your delightful rest, your brother pours some poison in your ear and you die. Surprise! You didn't know poisons work that way. Wow, you've barely made one choice so far, and you're dead already. Way to go, champ. You're really good at books, huh? It's just a stellar job you're doing here, Chuckles. The end. Okay, fine. I feel sorry for you. Here's a choice that you can choose. Become a ghost. Do not become a ghost. You choose non-existence over being able to float and having spooky powers. It wasn't even a good one, but it is the last decision you ever make. Until you play this book again, that is. The end. P.S. I hope you do play this book again, because there is more to it than dying like an ultra chump in the first 2 turns. I promise. You have just been born. You are King Hamlet. Okay, fine. I feel sorry for you. Here's a choice that you can choose. Good news! The afterlife exists, and it's full of ghosts. You know this because you're now one of them. You get to spend all your time slamming doors, rattling chains, and telling on the person who killed you. But here's the thing. I, the author, told you, the reader, that your brother poured poison in your ear while you napped. But you, as Hamlet Sr., have no idea how you died. You slept through the whole thing, so you need to figure out who killed you if you're going to revenge yourself on your murderer, assuming you even were murdered. Because remember that, for all you know, you could have died of a heart attack. This is an example of dramatic irony. Only since we're in the second person, it's an amazing example of an entirely new species of dramatic irony. Something I'm going to call second-person pronoun paradoxical autodramatic irony. You are now aware of information that you're not aware of. This should be fun. Except that you died of a heart attack. Listen in on people's conversations and see if any of them talk about how they totally killed you. You hang around Norway for a bit, trying to listen in on what people are saying, but they're all speaking Norwegian. You only speak Danish, so understanding Norwegian is a little difficult. It all sounds like Swedish to you, which actually makes a lot of sense, since Danish, Norwegian, and Swedish are all related North Germanic languages, descended from early linguistic differentiation between regular Germanic speakers and North Germanic speakers around 200 AD. You nod your head, agreeing that all of this is both accurate and extremely interesting. While these three languages are generally supposed to be mutually intelligible, you find you can understand Norwegian speakers only if you're concentrating, which you are, and if they're speaking slowly and clearly, which they're not, as everyone is running around upset about war, and all these kings getting killed. Ironically, Norwegian speakers can understand Danish easier than Danish speakers understand Norwegian, but that doesn't help you much. That would only be useful if you were playing as a Norwegian king, whose ghost is stowed away on your army's boat headed back to Denmark. But I haven't given you that option, even though it would be extremely awesome. If you're wondering what happens to this vengeful ghost king, I can tell you only this. The answer exists in your imagination. But here's the good news. It turns out written Danish and written Norwegian are actually pretty similar. So you spend the next several nights haunting people, quietly reading their diaries while they sleep peacefully in their beds. And you don't know this, but ghosts do this all the time. Ghosts just love sneaking a peek at the secrets of the living. It takes a while, but you finally find the diary of someone who wrote, on the day you died, that she was wandering by a garden, minding her own business, when she saw some Danish guy pour something in some other Danish guy's ear. Hey, that sounds like what could have happened to you. But remember, you don't know that's exactly what happened to you because of the new irony we invented. Wake up this person and ask her about it. Wake up this person and hold up a piece of paper where you've written down a question asking her about it. You grab a piece of paper and write down the words, "Hey, I'm not here to kill you. I just want to know about that murder you maybe witnessed." But in Danish, of course. Haha. You gently shake the woman awake while holding the piece of paper up in front of her. She's freaked out initially. She was just woken up by a ghostly apparition from beyond the grave. But once she reads your note, she looks at you suspiciously and says, "For real?" You flip over the paper and write, "Yeah, I'm the guy that got killed maybe. And I guess I want to revenge my death or whatever. But please speak slowly as Norwegian is not my native language. I'm from Denmark." "Oh," the woman says in Danish. "I speak Danish too."
Kick ass,
You reply. She tells you what she saw and gives you a physical description of the guy. Unfortunately, the man answering to her description could only be one person, your brother, Claudius. Congratulations, my king. You now know what you know, so that whole second-person pronoun paradoxical autodramatic irony thing has been slain. You've been awarded 500 experience points, plus you've unlocked a new quest, Revenge Yourself on Claudius. You're feeling pretty chuffed about this whole situation. Okay, let's revenge your death. Your murderer is getting away with it in Denmark. Swim back to Denmark. Wait for the next boat back to Denmark. You go down to the docks and start poking your head into the bridge of every boat you can find, flipping through the captain's logs and itineraries until you find one that's headed for Denmark. And it leaves in just a few minutes. Nice. This is really convenient. During the voyage, you poke around the boat looking for things to amuse yourself with. You experiment with doing some ghost things, like putting your head inside a barrel of wine and then making your head corporeal. But that just causes the barrel to explode with the sudden pressure inside and makes you get wine in your eyes, so you don't do that more than a few times. It only takes a while before your boat arrives in Denmark. Arrive in Denmark. You make it back to Denmark. The first thing you want to do is track down your brother to take revenge. Turns out, that's really easy because he's in the first place you check, the royal court. He's there with your widow, Gertrude. Weird. They're acting all close and stuff. Oh well, he's probably just trying to comfort her after your untimely death. Ha! Brothers are really great. Though, maybe not. Listen in on what they're saying. Ignore what they're saying. I'm certain there's nothing untoward going on.
Hey, Gertrude,
Says Claudius.
I sure am happy that we married each other, even if it was so soon after your first husband died under mysterious circumstances.
Whoa, that certainly was, in terms of exposition, a very efficient sentence. You decide instantly that your initial revenge plan, haunt a mirror so that instead of Claudius's reflection, he sees you, and then you mirror his movements, so he's not really sure what's going on, is needlessly complex and stupid. Dude killed you and married your widow. Since you are from olden times, you have an extremely old-fashioned sense of ownership over female sexuality, so this really gets stuck in your craw. Instead of spooking Claudius, you decide to kill Claudius, complete the quest. Get your son to kill Claudius instead. This is awesome, and it's going to go great, because who better to know how to kill someone than someone who has recently been through that getting killed to death process themselves. You wait until Claudius is sleeping, next to your beloved Gertrude for some reason. Huh, that's weird. Then wake him up by tapping him on the forehead a bit.
Hey, it's me,
You whisper.
your brother, the one you murdered.
Ah, crap.
Claudius whispers back.
Ghosts are real?
Real pissed at you, anyway.
You reply.
Listen, I'll cut to the chase. We are from a time where an eye for an eye is considered to be a good thing to build a justice system around. So I am here to kill you.
How?
Claudius asks, his eyes wide, terrified.
Oh, geez, so many ways.
You say, counting them off on your fingers.
I could startle you and make you have a heart attack, but that takes time. I could throw a pot at your head until you die, but that lacks grace. Instead, check this out.
You move your ghost body so it's floating right above Claudius. He stares at you, his eyes wide.
I'm sorry.
He whispers.
Way too late for that.
You reply. You lower yourself to him, face to face, and keep going. His face dominates your field of vision, and then you're inside his skull, inside the pink of his brain, his blood darkly obscuring your sight. You sink slowly deeper and deeper into him, lining up your ghost body with his regular body, until you are just about occupying exactly the same space. Then you make yourself corporeal. What happens next happens so quickly and with such force that it's hard to describe. But Claudius explodes everywhere, captures most of it. I mean, you're fine, but man is this disgusting. Literally disgusting. Gertrude wakes up, dripping in gore, screaming. You, my friend, have achieved revenge. You roll over onto your back and apologize to Gertrude. You explain over her screams what happened, and you tell her that you still love her, even though she married your brother mere weeks after you died. But you can't be with her anymore, you say. You tell her you need to go find your own path.
Sorry about the bad.
You say, floating up through the roof. You spend the rest of the afterlife acting as an immortal judge from beyond the grave, exploding those who have committed the most egregious crimes, merely blowing the hands off those who have been awful people, but still, you feel, deserve a second chance. People whisper your name in fear. Criminals are a cowardly, superstitious lot after all, and it works out pretty good for you. You do a lot of good work for a lot of people, and yep, it turns out that blowing up bad guys never does get old. The end.